And turning focus to the Israel-Palestine conflict, as Israel intensifies its war against Hamas in Gaza, countries in the West are moving to recognize the Palestinian state while pushing for a two-state solution. In Italy, clashes broke out as thousands took to the streets across towns and cities in solidarity with Palestinians. Rome and Milan saw the biggest crowds. Several ports in the country were blocked by trade unions, demanding an end to Italian support for arms shipments to Israel. And some demonstrations turned violent, with flares, tear gas and clashes between police and pro-Palestinian groups. Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni slammed the protests as outrageous, saying the protesters caused damage to Italian citizens while doing nothing to help people in Gaza. Meloni has been under fire from opposition on her position on Gaza. Although she has criticized Israel's offensive, Meloni refused to go as far as her Western partners in formally recognizing a Palestinian state. Some 4,000 miles from Rome in New York, the diplomatic front shifted to boost support for the Palestinian statehood. On the 22nd of September, a day after Britain, Canada and Australia formally recognized the Palestinian state, France, under President Emmanuel Macron, followed suit. The announcement came at a special summit in New York, co-convened by France and Saudi Arabia, but boycotted by Israel and the United States.
This renewed Palestinian Authority is a necessary condition to the success of the indispensable negotiation that has to resume in order to obtain an agreement on each of the questions related to the final status. It is also in this framework that I could decide to establish an embassy in the state of Palestine, as long as all hostages detained in Gaza are freed, and as long as a ceasefire is established.
The diplomatic momentum quickly widened. Luxembourg, Belgium, Malta, Monaco and Andorra all joined France, adding to the more than 145 nations that now formally recognize a Palestinian state. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas welcomed the wave of recognition, promising elections within a year of the war's end and reiterating that militant groups must hand over their weapons. Israel, however, warned that such recognition undermines any prospect of peace. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has previously vowed that there will be no Palestinian state, even as the military campaign in Gaza inches closer to its 3-year mark. The US insists that Palestine's recognition outside a negotiated peace deal will only make matters worse in the region. Saudi Arabia called for an independent state based on the 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as capital. The European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen pledged support for rebuilding Gaza and reviving its economy. But deep divisions remain in Europe. Germany, long a staunch ally of Israel, says Palestine's recognition must come only after a peace deal. And Italy, under Prime Minister Meloni, maintains that unilateral recognition would be counterproductive. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's far-right allies are now pushing for the formal annexation of parts of the West Bank. But that move risks backlash from Arab states like the United Arab Emirates, which warn it would undermine the Abraham Accords, under which the UAE recognizes the state of Israel. So while recognition is gaining momentum, reality on the ground remains unchanged. More than 65,000 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza since the conflict erupted in October of 2023. And Israeli leaders insist they will not halt their campaign until Hamas is destroyed. The gap between diplomacy and war continues to widen with every passing day.
Firstpost now available in 9 languages on YouTube. English,
Stands at $36 trillion.
French,
Le FMI, comme
German,
Geschäftsführenden Direktor,
Hindi,
$30 trillion ka karjo.
Indonesian,
Pemerintah tanpa pemeriksaan.
Italian,
Skali radikali.
Japanese,
4 兆ドル以上も
Portuguese,
por causa do próprio balanço patrimonial.
Spanish.
Beautiful bill.
Go to Settings, click on Audio Track and select a language of your choice. Be the first to know what's happening around you in your first language. Firstpost.